Who do we want to see the Rams draft with their first-round pick? When will Tyler Higbee be back? What will they do at the tight end position? Will the Rams keep Joe Noteboom? Will they draft a kicker? Who will be the backup quarterback next season? That's coming up next on a mailbag edition of Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramley, and welcome to the episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you have not yet, do us a huge favor. We're so close to 12,000 subscribers, so hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, hit that like button, and drop all your takes about your Los Angeles Rams and any questions you want to see featured on our mailbag episodes. My name is Doug McCain. Friends call me D-Mac. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. We're covering LA sports for over a decade, 24/7 sports, SI, Dodgers Nation, Locked On Rams. And as always, I'm joined by the Rams pre-half and post-game show host for the Rams flagship radio station, ESPN 710 LA. He just finished his 8th season covering your Los Angeles Rams, the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers. You can follow him on X at Travis Rogers. And on today's episode, we have a jam-packed mailbag episode. We're talking about who the Rams will be drafting at 19. Will they trade the pick? What will they do at the backup quarterback position, the kicker position, that, so much more. Who would you rather see next year, a Dodgers World Series or a Rams Super Bowl? We're getting into all that here on Locked On Rams. But first, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So, Travis, we're going to dive right into this mailbag episode. And the first question comes from Larry Straker 318. Will the Rams keep Joe Noteboom? So I think this is a pretty simple one. If you heard Les Snead's comments the other day to reporters, he said that they value him, that they're searching for a win-win scenario. They would keep him in the Horns. Let me just translate that for Rams fans. It's take a pay cut or you're going to get released.
That's exactly
I think that's kind of where they sit at.
Yeah, look, and that's where they should be, right? This is an easy one. I have a little bit of a soft spot for him as a Rams fan, as someone who's watched his entire career here in Los Angeles. He's stepped up at a very important time in the progression of this team. He was the starting left tackle for a few weeks when Andrew Whitworth went down when they won the Super Bowl. Right, that's not nothing. That is something that he proved that he can do. I think he's a much better backup, a much better depth piece, a much better swing player than he is a starting player. He makes way too much money for what it is that he does for this team. If he likes Los Angeles, if he likes the culture of the Rams, if he likes what he's been able to do here, then I think what win-win means, unless Snead parlance, is take a pay cut or go find more money somewhere else, because we're not doing that again. It just depends on whether he wants to be here and whether or not the Rams like that price. I would, if I had to place a bet, I think it's likely he's somewhere else next season.
Yeah, I think that when you look at his experience and what he's provided as a depth piece, yeah, there are going to be some options. It's not like he's going to be out of the league if it's not with the Rams, right? Other teams are going to take a flyer on Joe Noteboom. The only issue with the Rams is a cap hit of $20 million in 2024. Not bad if you're a starting left tackle or something like that, but that's way too high for a backup, for a guy who's not a starter. So they're definitely going to have to work something out if he's going to be back with the Rams. Next question comes from Antman5682. When will Tyler Higbee return, and who will fill in for him next year while he's out? So Les Snead told reporters a couple days ago that Higbee has undergone surgery to repair his ACL and MCL. There's no timetable for his return. And for me, I personally think that probably not going to be available to start the year. Davis Allen, he showed some flashes. He's big. He's got the catch radius. Hunter Long is still under contract. We talked about Brock Bowers as a guy you could draft. I think you can even dip into the later rounds. A guy like Jatavion Sanders out of Texas, guys like that. Dalen Hawker out of Colorado State. So I think they are probably going to draft the tight end, but I don't anticipate Higbee being ready for the start of the season.
No, not considering when he got hurt, right? He got hurt in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So you're talking about somebody that got hurt, towards the middle and end of January. I know that injury that used to be a year has been shortened up to maybe, 8 or 9 months typically, but 9 months from January is October. And that's if everything goes exactly right. And then you're back. And everybody that has had this injury that I've talked to and heard about it, you might be able to go, but you're never really yourself until about 18 months after the injury. So if they get him back at all, I think that's probably an optimistic viewpoint. They're going to have to draft somebody, or they're going to have to sign somebody in the free agent pool, or they're going to have to find a way to maybe juice the Davis Allen experience moving forward, who, by the way, played pretty well towards the end of the season. He started to pick up what the McVay offense is. I know that we've talked about this before. The everydayers will know this. The tight end position in the Rams offense is probably the second most complicated position outside of the quarterback. So that does take some time. So you probably want somebody that's been in the building and understands what it is you're trying to do as your first option. That's probably Allen at this point. But I do think that once you get past the big three needs for this team, we're talking corner, you're talking edge, you're talking offensive line, tight end is probably very close to the top of that list. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see some new faces at that position. I don't expect Tyler Higbee to be an impactful player in this upcoming season just because of the timing of the injury.
I agree. And even if they're high on Davis Allen, they still don't want to put all their eggs in that basket, right? They're definitely going to have some options. And they obviously, you got a guy that can block too. I mean, that's very important for that position, the way the Rams use it. And the way that Snead was talking about Higbee, saying, okay, we just got to get him healthy. And then we can start talking about getting him to return to football action, whether that's in August or October, that remains to be seen. So that's a pretty big gap. So that tells me that they are not banking on him being back to start the season.
Can I throw one more thing in there too, D-Mac?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's simply that Tyler Higbee's been here a long time. He's played really well. He's had some very nice moments. It may be time to find some way that, regardless of the injury that he suffered, and I'm sorry that anybody gets hurt, obviously, but this is something they needed to address even if he were 100% healthy. This is something that they need to get better at that position. You look at their offense. They got the quarterback, they got the running back, they got the wide receiver room that's kind of pretty much locked in with Nakua and Kupp and Robinson. The one missing piece as far as the skill sets go is that tight end piece. And now that Higbee has been hurt, it just shoots to the top of the list of offensive needs. And even if he were healthy, I think that's so. We saw it Allen more and more towards the end of the year. I think that may have been a thing they were thinking of regardless of his health.
Absolutely. And as you point out, it's unfortunate the timing of when he got injured, right? Their last game of the season, he signed that extension last year. He's really the best tight end in Rams history, but it's something that moving forward, they're going to have to address at some point. So that kind of puts the wheels in motion, forces them to do that. Now, next question, Travis, it comes from Sandy Y'all 1968. And he says, I always say we when referring to my team. Guys at work call me out on it. We Rams, great show, guys. Can Travis say we when talking about the Rams?
No.
No?
I'm not on the team.
You're not on the team? You don't have a jersey? You don't have a Rodgers?
No.
You are on the team. You're the post-game show host. You are on the team.
I am an employee of 710 ESPN. I am an employee of the Locked On Podcast Network. I am not a member of I would love to be if they wanted to extend me an opportunity to join the family. If they wanted to hire me as an employee, I would start saying we the very moment that the ink was dry on the contract. I'm not on the team. I understand why people like that. If you want to do it, the royal we, you, the ustedes, right? Knock yourself out. I have rules for these things. I'm a they, not a we.
You could have been a better kicker than a lot of the guys that had last year. Yeah. Look, I tried. I mean, I just asked the question that was presented. I tried, guys. He's not going to say we. Hey, you guys know I get down. I get all the gear, and then all my friends send me that meme where it says blood thinking on the team. Okay. Yeah. So I always get made fun of. I mean, give me a nice laminated thing. I'll look like a coordinator on the sideline. I mean, hey. I like to just try to play, pretend here.
No judgment for the we people out there in the universe. If that's what makes you tick, but that's what makes you tick, knock yourself out. It doesn't work for me.
Okay, so you hear that, Rams. You got to sign him to a one-day contract, and he will finally say we were referring to the Los Angeles Rams. But coming up in our next segment, we're going to answer more of your questions. Who will the Rams draft at 19? Will they trade the pick? What will they do at the backup quarterback position? All that more coming up on Locked On Rams.
Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers, you get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. And of course, you can bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams. For instance, maybe you took the Lakers and laid the points last night. Hope not, because that certainly wasn't going to go your way. Hopefully that you don't have the Laker win total on the over for the season, because that's going to be something that's pretty hard to get down. But all of the stuff you love to bet in the NBA is right there on FanDuel. There are quick bets. There are live same-game parlays. There are exclusive prop bets. And, of course, there is a whole lot more. But you got to go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn. That's FanDuel.com/LOCKEDON and shoot your shot. FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. And let's talk a little bit about Logics, D-Mac. You know that on this show, we get a lot of in-depth analysis and hot takes, right? Well, let me give you the hottest take of the day. The best lineup in LA right now is the lineup of auto loans at Logics. They start off at the top with one of my favorites, the proven and dependable new and used vehicle loan. You can count on these guys to give you low rates and save you big time bucks. So next up, they've got the exciting new rookie sensation in their electric vehicle loans with super low rates and flexible payment terms. Rounding out the lineup, they've got their auto refinancing loan and lease buyout loans. With these guys, you could lower your monthly payments and get on the road to owning your car even faster. It is a hot take, to be sure, but seriously, no one can beat the lineup at Logics. Visit your local Logics branch right here in Los Angeles and let one of their amazing team members help you, or just apply online in minutes at logicsbanking.com. That's LOGIX banking.com.
And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And also a special shout out to those everyday listeners out there. We appreciate you watching and listening to every single episode. If you got friends, you got family members that are Rams fans, give the gift of Locked On Rams. Send them a link. Send them a YouTube link, and definitely appreciate it, guys. Now, here in our next segment, Travis, we're going to pick up on some of these questions, and this one's a little bit of a loaded one, and it's from Edwin Rampage 39. It says, "Hey, Doug and Travis, love the show and listen every day. I have two questions. One, if you could choose only one, would you rather see the Rams win the Super Bowl this season, or would you rather see the Dodgers win the World Series this season? By the way, both are happening. Two, if you each could select the number 19 pick this year for the Rams, who would you pick?" So you don't have to throw out a name for the draft pick. We're definitely early on that. I'll throw out some names. I'm not ready to commit to a guy. But for the first question, the floor is yours.
That's a good question.
That's
a really good question. Both of them have won a championship recently. Here's where I'm going to edge by the narrowest of margins towards the Dodgers. The Rams Super Bowl at the end of the Super Bowl 56 is straight up a Super Bowl championship. They went through a normal season with fans in the seats, went through a normal playoff format, and won the Super Bowl by beating the Bengals. The Dodgers' most recent World Series championship is not less than, but it's weird. It was played in empty stadiums. It was played with a portion of a season. It was played on a neutral field in Dallas, Texas, against the Tampa Bay Rays. It was just a bizarre set of circumstances. It counts, but I would still love to see them punch their 162-game ticket. That hasn't happened since 1988. I was a junior in high school, for goodness sake. I mean, it was a long time ago. I want them both. I like the question. I would love to see it, but by the narrowest of margins, I will lean towards the Dodgers.
Interesting stuff. I think for me, to answer that question, who would I rather see win the Super Bowl next year? Or would I rather see the Dodgers win the World Series or the Rams win the Super Bowl? My answer to that question is yes. Okay, that's the answer. But no, honestly, like you mentioned, the 2020 World Series, it was a series we had cardboard cutouts. It was a shortened season. We were playing less than 40% of the regular season. The Rams, their Super Bowl 56, that was the full Monty, right?
Yeah.
The full load of games, the regular season and the playoffs, the way they came back to win that Super Bowl. Also, you had a parade. Okay.
Yeah.
The Dodgers, you did not have a parade.
Run it back. Run it back.
Run it back, baby. Yeah, Aaron Donald flexing it out. I mean, it was just beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. But I will say, having said that, man, I mean, I'm on a mission here in Los Angeles to try to get the Rams to just be that team in the NFL. And if you get 3 Super Bowls, you join that top 10 list of teams that has 3 Super Bowl titles. You tie the Chiefs, Raiders, Washington, now known as the Commanders, and the Broncos. So you get those 2 Super Bowls out of this run. I think when you look at the windows of both teams, yes, you just signed Shohei Ohtani for the Dodgers, but yeah, Mookie, you have Freddie. They're only getting older. How much of their primes they have left? And you look at where the Rams are at with Aaron Donald and Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford. I think both these franchises, the parallels there are that you want to squeeze as many championship runs out of this core. So I see the similarities, but look, let's just win both.
Both is great, but I think you bring up a really good point, and that is that both of these organizations are set up for multiple shots at this. It's so hard to win a title, and basically everything needs to break right for you to win a championship. Like Rams fans know this. Jaquiski Tartt catches that ball for San Francisco, and we're not having this conversation more than likely. You know, the Dodgers have been the best team in baseball for over the last 10 years or so, and they have one weirdo championship to show from it because they get cold at the worst possible time or whatever it is. It's so hard, and the only thing you can ask for is give yourself a bunch of shots at it. Both of these teams have. Both of these teams probably will continue to. And while I know we talk about the window being Matthew Stafford and Aaron Donald, and that's certainly a huge part of it, I also think when it comes to the Rams specifically, the window is Sean McVay. Sean McVay's not even 40. This is in Sean McVay's DNA. There isn't a better job for him in football waiting for him somewhere else. So the Rams are going to have multiple shots at it. Even after the quarterback defensive tackle window starts to close a little bit, I think they'll kick it open again because they got the right coach.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, gun to my head, I mean, you probably got to say the Dodgers because of I've never seen a championship parade for the Dodgers in my life. I've seen a Rams championship parade, but I mean, I want to see them both win. I mean, come on. Now, he also asked, of course, who would I take with the number 19 pick? So look, if I could have anyone at that pick, it really depends on who's available. I think Terrion Arnold is someone who's going to be picked probably in the top 10, the cornerback out of Alabama. I love what he said yesterday on his post-game press conference for the Combine, saying, I'm going to be the best corner in this class. If you could trade up to get him or he falls to you, which is unlikely, that would be my number 1 guy. Also, look, Olu Fashanu out of Penn State, you've seen some mocks that have had him towards the middle of the first round. He's really, him and Joe Alt, in my opinion, are the only 2 elite left tackle prospects in this draft. Alt's going to be taken higher than that. Fashanu is another guy you can maybe trade up a little bit to get if he's your guy. And Cooper DeJean, the cornerback out of Iowa, not as high as some other people on him, but he's been mocked to the Rams. But how about Laiatu Latu? I don't know if you saw Latu yesterday. He was really good.
Yeah, look, that's who I'd like to see. I think that's the one that is not only possible, I think it's very possible. I think that there's the football player in him, right? I know that how big is his hands? What does he run? What does he lift? Fine, whatever. That's not my thing. Like the underwear Olympics are not super interesting to me. What does it look like when he plays football? Dude's a beast. That guy is a monster, and putting him on a team that has the other defensive players that it does right now, especially along the defensive line and guys like Byron Young, that could be a real problem for teams. So I would love to see the Rams land on Latu.
Yeah, and the thing with Latu, it was like, okay, heading into the Combine, he wasn't supposed to impress and just wow scouts with his 40 time and all of his metrics there. It was about, okay, on tape, he's a beast. It's the 23.5 sacks last couple of seasons. It's the tackles for a loss. It's the football speed. But then you look at the numbers you put up yesterday, then it's, okay, now he has both. So it's almost, okay, has he played himself out of the draft as far as where the Rams are going to be picking there at 19? And he ran a 4.6, 4.40. I mean, that was a lot better than a lot of people expected. He was happy with it. And yeah, he's someone, like I said, 21.5 tackles for loss, most by any player in the nation last season. And he coming off that neck contusion with Washington where they told him to medically retire. So it's a great story. Daniel Jeremiah has him as 21st on his big board. So he hit his numbers, a low 40 time. And yeah, if he were available, it would be great to bring the hometown kid, the UCLA Bruin, to the Rams. So definitely had to mention that. Now
he was waiting.
Yeah. At least it made it more than 10 seconds. I mean, come on now. Yeah, that was the over under. Now we'll do a quick one here before we hit the break, and then we'll pick it up in the next one. This is from Ernesto. No, FRNKISKO. What's your favorite Rams uniform the last 10 years? Love the episodes, fellas. For me, it is the modern throwback that they won the Super Bowl in. The white with the yellow pants, with the sole pants. I think it's clean. I think it's the best of all the new uniforms that they brought out. So I got to go with that one.
I agree with you. Of their modern combinations, that's the best one. Couldn't agree more. But if we're talking about anything that they've worn over the last 10 years, I like when they went throwbacks to like the late 80s, and the 70s. That uniform, I think Eric Dickerson, right? That's the one that's always hit me the best. I know that the Rams have worn that, as a throwback over the last 10 years or so. So that's just more of a personal choice for me because that's what they wore when I was a kid. I'm sure if you were a little bit older than me, you go back to the white Rams horns, you go back to the Merlin Olsen, Deacon Jones days. Those are pretty sweet as well. But give me that Jim Everett, Eric Dickerson look. And that's always in my mind. Jackie Slater look. That's always the one that I've loved.
Yeah, if the rebrand came about and they rolled those out exactly like they did as throwbacks, I'd be absolutely on board with that.
100%.
I actually think they should because I talked about it on the show before. Sports Illustrated had the Rams as their top uniform for years and years and years, and the Raiders haven't changed. The Packers haven't changed. I think the Rams really should have stayed in that class. I know you got to sell uniforms and you're starting a new franchise and everything like that, but I really think they shouldn't have changed because of how iconic those uniforms were.
Yeah, they're instantly recognizable. You see the Cowboys, boom, that's the Cowboys. You see the Packers, boom, it's the Packers. And that era of Rams uniform, that Ram horn helmet is as iconic as anything else. They couldn't, if they go back, I'll be the first guy in line. I love them.
Absolutely. Now, coming up in our next segment, though, more questions from you. Will the Rams go big on a backup quarterback, on a kicker? That's coming up next here on Locked On Rams.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Let me ask you this. How is your social battery right now, right? Do you feel like you're run down? Do you feel drained a little bit? Are you filled up? Are you ready to go? Are you ready to go do anything and everything? So why do you feel that way, right? Why do you feel like you could go do anything at any time? Or why do you feel like you just kind of need to chill out and recharge? It can be super easy to ignore that social battery, spread yourselves a little thin, especially with it getting nice again and people starting to get together all over again after the rain and all that stuff we've had. And therapy can give you the self-awareness to build a social life that doesn't drain your battery. So if you've been thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient. It's flexible and it's suited to your schedule. You just fill out a brief questionnaire. You get matched with a licensed therapist and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. So find your social sweet spot with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off of your first month. That's BetterHelp.com, BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Give it a shot.
And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thanks for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Now, next question comes from Tom Stevens 92. What will the Rams do with the backup quarterback spot? So, going to talk about what Les Snead mentioned a few days ago when he was asked about the backup quarterback moving forward. And Snead said, what we do want to accomplish this year is making sure we have someone, if we ever have to go play a game without Matthew in the lineup, we want to be able to win it. And also, he basically admitted that they whiffed at that position last season. He said, and I think this year, different than last year based on salary cap, it could allow us to maybe have a veteran quarterback, and we don't want to see what happened last year when it came back to hurt us definitely in one game. Of course, he's talking about Brett Rippon and how they lost to the Packers 20-3 in week 9 without Matthew Stafford. So it feels like they learned their lesson, and they're going to bring in a viable backup quarterback option for 2024.
I think the answer from Snead is exactly why I like this team as much as I do, is exactly why I'm so bullish on not just this upcoming season, but their future, generally speaking. That what you just read, D-Mac, is so uncommon to say, you know what, we kind of tricked that one off. That was a mistake. We made an error, and we need to make sure it doesn't happen again. We didn't have a right guy in the right spot at the right time, and it cost us a game. And thankfully, it didn't cost them a playoff spot, but it could have. One of those other games goes a different direction, and we're talking about a totally different thing. And they realize that, and they're saying it. I think that this has been something that they've gotten away with for a very long time, and then they nearly had it bite them in the you-know-what with that Packer game that you're talking about. I would be stunned if there isn't somebody that is NFL competent with a baseball cap on the sideline to start that season. Matthew Stafford is tough as you-know-what. He takes shots, but this is the NFL, and guys get hurt, and guys miss time. And it's not the future of the position. It's not a guy that, we got to go finish out the rest of the season, although that sometimes can be the case. It's hey, he's down for a couple of weeks, or he's down for a game or two or three. Can we at least win as often as we lose? Kind of what Baker Mayfield did, even with a really bad team a couple of years ago, that they went 2-3 over the 5 games he started. That's what you're looking for from a backup quarterback. And that was with a team that wasn't very good. So I think you're looking for something in there. If it's Carson Wentz, terrific. That's exactly what it is. But if it's somebody like that, they need to be experienced, or at the very least, somebody that's played in a bunch of big-time college games that's ready to step into that role. I wouldn't be. I would be surprised if it's not somebody that has some NFL seasoning on them coming into the season.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think what they're going to do is they're going to wait to see which quality quarterback is going to fall into their lap that they can get value out of, because that quarterback wants to join the Rams to try to boost his stock, like we saw Baker Mayfield, like we saw with Carson Wentz. Now, can they afford Wentz? Probably not. But if you do look at the salary cap, it did jump more than $30 million this year. It's a record $255.4 million, and that's what alluding to as far as having some more options as far as bringing in someone. Now, you got guys like Brissett and Darnold and Huntley, Tyler Huntley, Carson Wentz, Gardner Minshew, Jake Browning, Tyrod Taylor, Marcus Mariota. I don't know if they're going to invest in that position early on. I think they're going to kind of be patient, but they're going to know that, okay, the Wentzes, the Baker Mayfields, they fell into our lap later in the season. I think they're going to kind of get the best guy they can before the preseason begins, before training camp, and they're going to kind of go from there.
Every guy that you just mentioned on that list fits the bill. Every single one of them, right? So it's not like we could argue that this guy's a little bit better than this guy, but every name that you just rattled off, D-Mac, is a guy that has played in the NFL, that has had to start in the NFL, and has had, to varying degrees, success in the NFL. This is not somebody that's, I don't know, let's see what it is. These are NFL quarterbacks. These are, for lack of a better word, professional backups, that this is what they do. And if you had to play a game or 2 or 3 with them, you got a shot, and that's what you're looking for.
No doubt about it. Now, I think this also going to squeeze some more of these in here, and we'll head out of this one. And I think this applies to this question too. Dennis Sacurlo asks, do you see the Rams drafting a kicker or signing someone in free agency? You got Cam Little out of Arkansas. He has a lot of potential. And you got other guys out there. We talked about Kaimi Fairbairn. I'm not so sure who it's going to be right now, but I think it's also something that's a lot like the backup quarterback position, where they learned that lesson from that. And I think they're going to learn this lesson from the kicker spot too, that they really need someone they can trust if they're truly all in on making a run this season.
You can't fake that spot. You can't. And you want to try to do it on a little bit of a budget if you can, but you need a guy that, hey, look, I need a 48-yard field goal here to win a game, and you can't think twice about sending him out there. It can't be one of those, hey, would we rather go for it on 3rd and 19 and or 4th and 19, because that's the conversation we were having last year. Anything under 50 yards, you have to at least be comfortable enough sending him out there to give it a run. That's something they didn't have last year. Draft, trade, free agency, whatever it is, you need to start figuring that one out, and because you can't do what you did last year.
Yeah, you also got Joshua Carty out of Stanford. I'm just trying to drop some of these names, so if they draft them, I can take full credit and just take my victory lap. But we'll answer more of these questions on Monday. But thanks, guys, for all of your questions for this week's mailbag. And definitely keep dropping those for the entire season, because we read the comments after every show, and we bank them for episodes like this one. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And you can follow the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers, at Travis Rogers. Until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.